This is probably the only time where you can watch Natalie Portman transform from a graceful ballerina to a bird-like creature and still wonder if that's the weirdest thing you'll see today. We start off watching a young lady, Nina, dancing ballet when a man joins her on stage and is shadowing her. He then transforms into a beast and starts dancing with her before leaving her to round off her performance alone. That was a dream. She wakes up with a smile on her face and I'm wondering, wasn't that a bad dream? Anyway, she gets to stretching and talking about her dream to herself because I can't see anybody else there. After that, she's at breakfast with her mom, Erica. Nina's in a good mood this morning because her director promised to feature her more this season. Her mom tells her she deserves it just before she helps Nina put on her clothes. As she's doing that, she notices a scratch on her back. We now see Nina on a bus. She notices a lady on the same bus, but the lady doesn't see her before getting off the bus. Nina gets off later and heads to her studio. She's backstage getting ready for a performance and she overhears the other girls talking about a lady named Beth, calling her old and all that. Nina tries to defend her, but they pretty much shut her up. While they're still talking, that lady from the bus walks into the room. She says she missed her stop. Now that makes sense, but the girls don't seem to care. Anyway, they now get to dancing, but when a man walks in, they stop, take off a piece of clothing, and get back to dancing. That man is Thomas Leroy, the artistic director. He now comes down and says they all know the story. A pure, sweet girl trapped in the body of a swan. She deserves freedom, but only true love can break the spell. Her wish is nearly granted in the form of a prince, but before he can declare his love, a lustful twin, the black swan, comes to seduce him. Devastated, the white swan performs self-deletion by leaping off a cliff, and that's where she finally finds freedom. Makes sense. By the way, as he's talking, he's tapping different people. After his little speech, he signals to them to stop dancing and begins to address them. He says they open their season with Swan Lake, which has been done too many times before, but he insists it has never been done like this. He says they'll strip it down, make it visceral and real. He goes on to say a new production needs a new swan queen, so he's now looking for one person who can embody both swans, the white and the black. Equality moment. He ends his address by telling everybody he tapped earlier to go to their scheduled rehearsals this afternoon, and tells the ones he didn't tap to meet him in the principal's studio at 5. There are mixed reactions in the crowd as he leaves. I, for one, would have tapped them all. Nina's in a hallway rehearsing when she hears Beth, one of the OG ballerinas, smashing stuff in a dressing room. She has just been forced to retire and she's not taking it well at all. Nina goes into the room and later we see her in front of Thomas auditioning for the vacant roles. According to Thomas, she does great as the white swan, but her black swan is not as good. Lily, the girl from the bus, coming in the middle of her performance doesn't help her concentration at all. Thomas introduces Lily to the group. He says she's coming straight from San Francisco and she's filling Rebecca's old spot. Thomas tells Lily to get warmed up, but she says there's no need for that. She's good to go. My kind of girl. Then Nina asks if she should go again, but Thomas says she has seen enough. That obviously hurts Nina. Almost crying, she takes her bag and leaves. She first heads to the toilet, and I must say, I don't know what just went on there, but she then heads out. On her way, she sees Beth dressed in all black. They locked eyes but don't say anything to each other. By the way, she's now ignored 2 calls from her mom. That would get me killed. She eventually gets home and her mom excitedly asks her how it was. She says it was fine, but immediately falls on her mom crying. But she picks herself up, goes to her room, and begins to rehearse. While rehearsing, she breaks a toe. Her mom comes and helps dress the wound while telling her she's working herself too hard. Nina now makes up her mind that she'll go talk to Thomas tomorrow. Her mom tucks her in and she goes to bed. The following morning, she goes to talk to Thomas with red lipstick on, hoping to convince him that she's black swan material. She tells him she practiced all night and she finished. He tells her he already chose Veronica anyway and goes to open the door for her to leave. Nina says a defeated thank you and is about to leave, but Thomas shuts the door and says, "That's it? You're not going to try and change my mind?" Then gives her a fresh hope. She now tells him she came to ask for the part. Thomas goes to sit down and tells her that, when he looks at her, all he sees is the white swan. He then goes to say it's actually a hard job to dance both the white and black swans. Nina says she can do it, but Thomas disagrees. He says in 4 years, he has seen her obsessively get each and every move perfectly, but he has never seen her lose herself. Close to tears yet again, Nina says she just wants to be perfect, and Thomas tells her perfection is not just about control, it's also about letting go. He tells her to surprise herself so she can surprise the audience. At this point, Thomas is already standing, and when Nina tries to reply, things get a little sussy. She bites him and walks out. She goes out to sit in the hallway just opposite Veronica and a couple other ladies. Then when they all get up to go see the final casting list, she tells Veronica congratulations and starts walking away from the board. She hasn't gone far when Veronica comes and asks her what kind of sick joke that was. It was then that Nina went, "Wait a minute." So she turns around and goes to check the board, and it's her name written under Swan Queen. Everyone is congratulating her, but she can't believe what she's just seen. She immediately goes to the bathroom to call her mom and give her the good news. When she comes out of the bathroom, there's a very mean message waiting for her on the mirror. She tries to clean it off, but she doesn't succeed. She quickly wipes it off and goes to meet her mom, who has now come back. Her mom has got cake. No, not that kind. The kind to celebrate, and is about to cut a piece for Nina, but Nina says that's too big a piece. Her mom gets dramatic and acts like she's going to throw the entire cake away, but Nina apologizes and now she has to force herself to eat the cake. Why are you complaining? The following day, Nina's in the studio rehearsing. As usual, she nails the white swan role, and Thomas says he's not surprised. He says the real work will be her metamorphosis into the black swan, and then mentions something about giving him more of that bite from yesterday. We now see Nina rehearsing the black swan role with a dance instructor. After rehearsal, she goes out to to watch Lily dance. Thomas appears from behind her and tells her to watch Lily and see how effortlessly she's dancing, not faking it. Nina is now taken to her dressing room, which used to be Beth's, and she sees a bunch of flowers sent to her by Thomas. Up next, they're at a gala to celebrate the new season, and Thomas shouts out to Beth, who will be retiring at the end of the season, and then introduces Nina, the new star. Beth didn't seem to enjoy the speech very much, though, so she walked out while Thomas was still talking about her. We now see Nina pretty much tearing her finger off, but it appears that was all in her head. She's hallucinating. Lily, who has been knocking, now comes in and introduces herself while taking off her pants in front of her. She goes on to sit on the sink and tells Nina to keep her company, but Nina just leaves. After the gala, Thomas tells her she did well. He now asks her to stop by his place for a drink later, but he's called to meet some more people, so he tells her to wait there. He'll be back. While she's waiting, she's drawn to a sculpture, and while she's admiring it, she gets startled by a drunk Beth, who's basically now accusing her of getting on her knees to get her role, if you catch my drift. Thomas now shows up, stops Beth, and takes Nina home. At his home, he says he wants to talk about the role, and what's this dude going to start saying? That he doesn't want any boundaries to exist between them. He starts asking her if she has a boyfriend, if she had many in the past, if she enjoys clapping, all those very intense questions. You can tell Nina is very uncomfortable, but this guy is insufferable. He tells her he has homework for her, and what is it? To go home and clap herself. And yes, for once, in the fun way. Can you just stop being disgusting, sir? Nina gets home and her mom is helping her change. During the process, Erica notices the scratch on her back and just drags her to the bathroom and cuts her nails. Why is everybody around this girl being so incredibly annoying today? Anyway, Nina wakes up the next morning and tries to do the homework that Thomas gave her. Moving on. She's now at the studio and there are awkward glances between her and Lily. While they're rehearsing, a lady runs in and says Beth was in an accident. Dancing immediately stops. Later, we see Nina asking Thomas what happened with Beth. He says she walked into the street and got hit by a car, and he says he's almost sure she did it on purpose. Not long after, Nina goes to visit Beth in the hospital. Beth is unconscious, but Nina is able to see how badly damaged her legs are. Well, that's certainly goodbye to ballet now, isn't it? A terrified Nina leaves the hospital and goes to the studio to cry alone. When she gets home later that night, she picks up a stick and heads to her mom's room where she's painting, but she turns around and heads to her own room. She tries to barricade the door with the stick, but when she hears her mom call out to her, she immediately hides the stick and pretends to have been in bed for a while. The following day, after practice, the instructor gives her a massage. Bro, this is what my body needs right now. Anyway, after that, it's back to rehearsals, and Thomas is still not impressed with her depiction of Black Swan, but while he's confronting her, the lights go off. When they come back on, he dismisses the guys and tells Nina to remain. He starts rehearsing with her. Again, things get weird, but she doesn't bite him this time. She yields. Then he suddenly stops and says that things should be the other way around. Then he leaves. I think we all wish that. What we see next is Nina sitting on the floor sobbing when Lily comes in with a cigarette in her mouth. Apparently you can't smoke in here, but Lily doesn't care. She gets Nina to smoke and also gets her to open up to her, but that doesn't last for long. Lily crosses a line, so Nina gets up and goes home. At home, she gets in the bathtub, but she slips and begins to hallucinate again. She has a nosebleed and then she sees someone standing over her. She gets out and goes to examine her scratch again, and it seems to be getting worse. She immediately goes to cut her nails and accidentally cuts herself in the process. The following day, she's back on her grind again, and Thomas still doesn't look so impressed, so he keeps telling her to repeat the sequence. At some point, Nina just stops and asks him if he has any corrections, so he comes down and says that Lily told him that she saw her crying, and then told him to take it easy on Nina. He then asks her if she needs a break, but Nina says she's good. She didn't ask Lily to say anything in the first place. Thomas now calls her a coward and she apologizes, but that does nothing more than infuriate him even more. He tells her to stop being so weak and tells them to do the sequence again. After all that, Nina confronts Lily about telling her business to Thomas. She says she shouldn't have. Now we see Nina on the bus with a man making gross advances at her. At home, her mom asks her if Thomas has not tried anything stupid, and she lies and says no. Erica says she's just trying to make sure. Apparently, Thomas has a reputation, and she just wants to make sure that her daughter doesn't make the same mistake she did. Oh, Erica used to be a ballerina too? I suspected so. Erica goes on to tell Nina that she gave up her career to have her, and that sort of causes a little awkwardness right now. So Erica changes the topic and asks about the scratch. She asks Nina to take off her shirt, but she insists she won't. Things were just about to escalate further when the bell rings. Erica goes to the door and quickly dismisses the person, but Nina goes to check and finds out it's Lily who came around to apologize. She offers to take Nina out for drinks, and despite her mother's protests, Nina goes with her. At the bar, the girls get talking and Lily tells Nina that soon Thomas will start calling her his little princess, the name he used to call Beth. But Nina is being naive. As the night goes on, Lily flirts with the waiter, hands Nina a piece of lingerie, and then offers her vitamin E, telling her to loosen her up. Nina accepts the gift, but says no to the vitamins, as we all should. Later, she goes to the bathroom to put on the clothes, and on her way back, she sees Lily, now with two men, emptying some vitamins into a drink. Lily now drags her, introduces her to the men, and manages to convince her to take the drink and stay back instead of rushing home. The two couples get talking, and Nina keeps ignoring her mom's calls, but then the vitamins begin to hit, and before she knows it, she finds herself on the dance floor, just being young, wild, and free. Can't relate. From the dance floor, she finds herself in the bathroom, hanging out with a dude, but it seems like the vitamins are wearing off, because she just suddenly stops and starts walking until until she leaves the bar. Lily follows her and they get in a cab together, where she begins to embrace Nina, who lets it go on for a bit, and then later stops her. They both go to Nina's house and Erica's not pleased by how late they're coming back, but Nina is still zooted off the walk, and she frankly doesn't care. Erica tries to force her to go to bed, but Nina shakes herself free and goes to barricade herself in the room. She tells her mom she's not 12 anymore and she needs privacy. After that, she turns to Lily, and they go ahead to finish what they started in the cab. The next morning, she wakes up and she's alone, and you know what else she is? Late for the dress rehearsal. She comes out to see her mom sitting in the living room and asks her why she didn't wake her up. Erica doesn't say anything, then Nina says she's moving out. When Nina arrives at the studio, she sees Lily dancing as Black Swan. She approaches Thomas and he tells her to go get warmed up. As she's warming up on the side, she hears Thomas say that Lily's performance was really good. Bro, I can feel the lump in Nina's throat right now. They now go on a break and Lily comes to meet Nina and acts like it's not a big deal. She wasn't there and Thomas asks her to step up, but Nina's not taking it lightly at all. She confronts Lily about putting some vitamins in her drink, sleeping over, and then running off in the morning leaving her to oversleep. Lily says yes, she did give her vitamins, but she didn't sleep over. She actually went home with one of the dudes from the bar. Lily, now figuring out what's going on here, teases Nina about fantasizing about her. Nina just runs off. Nina now does her performance, and when she gets home she tries to puke, but nothing comes out. She then goes to bed, throws her ballet toy to the ground, and goes to dump a bunch of her teddy bears in the trash. The following day she's rehearsing, and at the end she's supposed to jump off a cliff. She hesitates to do that, but she eventually does. After that she goes to the wardrobe department and she starts having hallucinations again. Then she sees Lily come in too, and that's where she finds out that Thomas made her alternate. She immediately runs to meet Thomas and just keeps saying it can't be her, because Lily wants her role. Thomas is like, every dancer in the world wants your role, but Nina insists this is different. She says Lily is after her and is trying to replace her. Thomas tells her not to worry. She just needs to give a good performance tomorrow and she won't have to worry about Lily or anybody else. Later that day as she's rehearsing, the pianist just stops abruptly. He says, I have a life. I work too hard. It's a big day tomorrow. And he leaves. Can't lie. This is me once work begins to stress me out. Just kidding. I don't even have a job. Anyway, Nina goes on rehearsing a cappella and she starts having hallucinations again. She follows some sound she's hearing into a room where she sees Thomas and Lily getting sussy. Thomas then turns into some kind of beast. As soon as she sees that, she packs up her stuff and leaves. She heads straight to the hospital where Beth is at and drops a few things for her. Apparently these are things she stole from Beth because, according to her, she was just trying to be perfect like her. Beth now says she's not perfect. She's nothing. And then she starts scratching herself. But as you've probably already figured out, this is also one of Nina's hallucinations. She now goes home and has yet another series of hallucinations. She starts tearing down the paintings on her mom's wall. But when Erica comes in, she runs to her room and barricades the door. She now takes off her shirt and is examining the scratch on her back, which has gotten worse. She appears to pick a little feather from it. Her mom barges in, but she pushes her out and jams the door in her mother's hand a couple times. Then as she retreats back into her room, her knees sort of bend backwards and she falls to the floor. At this point, I don't even know what's real anymore. When she wakes up, she sees her mom comforting her. Erica had put her socks over her hands because she was scratching all night. Erica says she called the theater and told them Nina wasn't feeling well, but Nina insists she has to go. She fights her mom off to get the key and she opens the door and leaves. While she's leaving, Erica tells her she's not well and she can't handle this. And Nina replies, I can't? I'm the Swan Queen. You're the one who never left the corpse. You didn't have to burn your mother like that, did you? Anyway, when Nina arrives at the studio, Lily yells, what are you doing here? You were supposed to be sick. But Nina ignores her and just goes into the dressing room to start getting ready. Thomas comes into the room and tells her he has already asked Lily, but Nina says, have you announced it? After Beth, you really need another controversy? I'm here, Thomas. I'm doing it. Thomas seems more impressed by that, so he bends over and tells her that the only person standing in her way is her. He goes on to tell her to lose herself and then leaves. Nina has a couple more hallucinations before she steps out, but nothing too new to her. She then goes on stage and starts performing. I don't know much about ballet, but I think she's doing great. She finishes her first act and goes to way backstage, but then she sees Lily flirting with one of the male dancers and that distracts her. This is where things start to go awry. Nina goes back on stage for the second act, and the guy playing the prince lifts her and starts spinning her, and while she's spinning, she begins to hallucinate yet again, and that causes the guy to drop her. Thomas is fuming right now. The prince quickly picks her back up, and they get to the routine and manage to round off the act. The second the curtains go down, Thomas comes out and starts lashing out. Nina blames it all on the guy and goes into her changing room where she meets Lily preparing to play the Black Swan. She tells Lily to get out, and Lily then transforms into Nina. The two Ninas now get physical with each other and break a mirror in the process. Now White Swan is on top of Black Swan Nina, who's saying, how about I play Black Swan for you? It's my turn, while choking White Swan Nina. So White Swan Nina picks a shard of glass from the floor and inserts it into Black Swan Nina's side. As soon as she does that, Black Swan Nina transforms back into Lily and coughs out some spaghetti juice before, clocking out. Nina now drags the body into the bathroom and goes out for her Black Swan performance. Again, I know nothing about ballet, but I know she's killing this. You can see the evil is coming from within this time, and I'm not wrong at all, because when she wraps up the act, the audience erupts in a loud ovation. Now it appears that Nina's now transforming into an an actual black swan as she goes back on stage to do the closing act. Her arms turn into actual feathers. When she's done with her performance, she's back to normal and the audience gives her a rapturous ovation. After curtsying, she runs backstage and greets Thomas. When she finally releases him and goes back on stage, Thomas is just there smiling like a middle school boy who just got his first peck from his longtime crush, named Marianne, in the school hallway during lunch break. And okay, I think I've said too much already. Back to Nina, she now returns to her dressing room where she has a mess to clean up, but she decides to first clean her makeup. Woman moment. And now the craziest thing happens. She hears a knock on the door and you won't believe it. It's Lily. So who the heck is lying in her bathroom right now? Lily is there congratulating her on her performance, but Nina's not hearing a thing she's saying. Once Lily leaves, she looks at the floor. No broken mirror. Looks in the bathroom. No body. But she looks down, and there's blood and a tiny shard of glass which she now pulls out. She's in tears now. She goes to sit in front of the mirror and has tears rolling down her eyes while she prepares to go be the white swan for the last time. She goes out and she's nailing it yet again. And you know how this one ends, right? She's supposed to jump off a cliff. So she makes her way up, and a lot of things start happening while she's up there. She's tearing up, her bleeding is spreading. She makes eye contact with her mom in the audience, all in a space of seconds. Anyway, she now throws herself off the cliff, and the ovation is super loud again. Her fellow dancers now surround her and are applauding her. Then Thomas approaches her, calls her his little princess, and tells her they need to go take a bow. And that's when they notice the spaghetti juice spreading across Nina's waist. Thomas sends for help and asks her what she did. She just says, it was perfect. Then the screen fades to white, and it's a wrap. Moral of the story? I have no idea.